Hello everyone, my name is Valentin Tassev and I would like to share with you some of my experiences last year and in particular what I experienced as a result of teaching online. Before that, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm an assistant professor of English at Woosong University, and last year I had the opportunity to teach Chinese students online. Initially, the plan was for me to go to China and teach Chinese exchange students in China for about 2 semesters, who later were supposed to come to Woosong University and complete their university education here at Woosong. Unfortunately, due to the COVID-19, I could never go back to China, so I had to teach those students English entirely online. I had never taught online, and I had never taught Chinese students only, or so many Chinese students at once. So this was really a very big experience for me. Of course, I was very stressed, and I was very worried I might not be able to do it. And sometimes I wished I had never taken on the task. However, as a result of this online teaching experience, I completely changed my perspectives about online learning and the extent to which online learning could contribute to students' learning progress and the development of students' new identities. As a matter of fact, prior to this experience with the Chinese students, I had never ever supported the idea of online teaching. Throughout most of my teaching career back in Thailand, I used to be a very old-fashioned teacher in the traditional sense of what old-fashioned means. So I always used to resist the use of technology, outstand in front of the students, and I would always interpret my relationship with students based on the physical aspects of the classroom and all the physical aspects of how students and teachers behave in the real offline classroom. So for example, I would consider the students sitting on the front rows as the best students in the classroom, which is actually very typical for the Thai offline classroom. And I always relied on how I looked in my own eyes. And this is what really defined the way I perceived my relationship with students. I thought that by being in front of the classroom and looking serious and being strict and maintaining eye contact with the students, I was therefore a better teacher. And this is the way I thought I was being perceived by my students. I thought that by looking strict and looking serious and controlling the whole process in the classroom, I therefore was being perceived by them as the better teacher. Well, the online experience with the Chinese students last year changed all that. And I would say that maybe I was a better teacher teaching online than the teacher I used to be when I was teaching offline. So how did the online experience change my perceptions about myself and the students? Well, when I started teaching last year in the spring, I was planning not to have the camera on for only 2 weeks. So I said to myself, let me not ever switch on the camera. And I would like the first 2 weeks to be based upon the verbal contact I had with students. So I said to the students that we will not have our cameras on for the first 2 weeks. As a matter of fact, this whole practice lasted throughout the entire semester. And for the whole spring semester, we never ever switched our cameras on. I never got the chance to see my students' faces, and they never ever saw my face. And I believe that the lack of visual contact actually made our relationship stronger. Why so? Well, I think that due to the lack of visual contact, students could express their points of view more openly and more sincerely, as if they were liberated to have a voice or a new voice in the whole learning process. Students shared that due to the lack of visual and physical contact, they felt more confident and more comfortable to say what they wanted to say, to communicate their points of view more freely. And they felt that this whole online experience gave them a new identity in the whole learning process. And let me share with you what some students shared at the end of the semester. One student said, in online classes, I don't need to see anyone's face or attitude, so I feel relaxed and comfortable. Another student said, I think in online courses, you can speak at will, you can chat at will, very active atmosphere. In this way, I don't have too much stress when I communicate with foreign teachers. And another student made the observation that online classes can improve our confidence. And again, in the physical classroom, our perceptions of what our learning experiences are based on two factors, time and space. Why space? Because we often remember the whole experience as it was in the real physical classroom. I always remembered my best student based upon the way she sat, where she sat, and usually she would sit in front of the classroom. And I would always also remember my best experience or my best student based upon a particular lesson and the time I had this lesson. So our perceptions of time and space are based upon, they actually affect those learning experiences. And we remember those learning experiences based on those two factors, time and space. So our learning experiences usually have those temporal and spatial characteristics. And again, usually this might be an advantage, but quite often it could be a disadvantage. Why? Because we might take it for granted that the students who don't speak and therefore don't impress me are not good at English, and therefore they're not good students. And for those students in particular, the online learning experience gave them a new voice in the whole learning process. As if many of those students were liberated to have their voice on the issues of the day. And they identified with profiles on the internet that were created by themselves. They didn't have their real names, or they didn't put real pictures of who they were. They created with profiles which reflected the way they perceived their experiences with learning English. For example, I remember some students named their profiles with the same names of their favorite celebrities. And this is what they associated their learning English experiences with. Another student, for example, named her profile, which somehow reflected what she liked about English. And I remember she talked about reading English mystery novels. And this is what her profile eventually was a reflection of. And the students also perceived me in a different way. I remember I asked the students who they thought I was, or what they thought I looked like. And they portrayed me in a way which was completely different from the way I was being portrayed back in Thailand when I was teaching mostly offline. And this new image of myself, which they had painted, really made me think that I was a better teacher when I taught online. And this new image of myself given to me by them gave me a sense of comfort and satisfaction. And I would like to sum up with a quote that one student made. And I think this quote sums up very well the benefits of online teaching and how they impact students' new identities in the process of learning. I remember this student said that the online experience helped reduce the distance that exists among students, which is often the case, as in the traditional offline classroom. She said that this distance in the online forum was absent, and everybody was equal in the online forum. Having said all that, I'm not an advocate for online teaching still. I still believe that offline learning is better in the long term. And if given the opportunity, I would always teach offline than online. But what I'm trying to say is that if integrated with offline learning, online learning could be a successful factor, and it could highly influence students' learning progress in a positive way. And most importantly, it could help students build new identities in the process of learning. New learning, new professional, and new personal identities. Thanks for listening.